Hey, good morning. It's Mike Zschunke, Berkshire Hathaway Homes and Shifton Properties in Scottsdale, Arizona. Friday morning market chat live. We're going to talk about residential. We're going to talk about commercial. We're going to talk about the economy, why oil is so important when it comes to interest rates, some industry trends, and then a little bit about Berkshire Hathaway and why we choose to work with them. Anyway, first we'll start off inventory. We always start off single-family detached inventory. We had a nice little bump this week in inventory. And as I said before, a lot of properties we had seen coming on the market were tired. Things that were on last summer, priced too high. There's some pretty big numbers. South of Shea Boulevard, 85259 zip code, 120th to 130th Street. I've always liked that area. There's bigger lots. No HOA in a lot of the properties, and there's getting some big $4-5 million properties. So that's really booming. This 85259 zip code. And it's my job to know this local area. We work all over the valley, but we kind of try and stay close to home here, close to the office, and so if know what's going on there. Anyway, I'm always asked, how's the market? And my first thought when I hear that is, what market? You see everybody posts, the market is doing this, or it's doing this. Real estate, especially now, it seems like has really become such a neighborhood to neighborhood market. One neighborhood, Silverleaf may be doing great. DC Ranch they kind of move a lot. Oncala may be doing something different. Downtown Phoenix. Especially the Phoenix area. I was talking to somebody the other day, neighborhood to neighborhood. You cross a major street, you can have a significantly different market. So I hesitate to talk about numbers, but we're going to talk about numbers anyway. Nationwide, because I'm asked that a lot. I need to know what my clients or potential clients are seeing in the news and the headlines. And I have a lot of those conversations. Well, let's look at your specific situation, whether you're buying or selling, residential, land, commercial, whatever it is. Let's look at the details for your situation. But anyway, existing home sales nationwide up 1.7% month over month. Really about the same as last year, maybe a little bit better. Now, these are nationwide numbers. It's improving, but we're still below those pre-pandemic numbers. It's gotten pretty quiet. I saw an interesting fact. Licensed real estate sales agent in the state of Arizona went from 89,000 sales agents to 53,000 licensed sales agents. So we're cleaning up the business. I don't think that's a bad thing. But whenever there's an opportunity to make money, everybody thinks real estate's easy money, get into it part-time. You really need a full-time experienced agent. It's a business, if you're going to put food on the table, you've got to be full-time experienced if you're going to offer your clients the best service. So, people jump in and out of the business a lot, and it's interesting. I've had a few clients go ahead and get their license, and they still call me for deals. So it's interesting. Housing starts up a little bit, 1.49, 1.5%. Here's housing starts nationwide. That's decent, and it's interesting. The lower the market, I focus on the Phoenix metro area, the greater Phoenix, the valley it's called. It's Scottsdale, out to Peoria, I'm kind of all over the valley. Lower end of the market, 500,000 and lower is very rate dependent. So as these interest rates, we'll talk about that in a little bit, are wagging around, it's kind of a mental thing. Under 6%, everybody wants to buy. Over 6%, people kind of pull back. And that's more so on the lower end of the market. Scottsdale, it's really that $1 to $3 million price range. That's kind of the sweet spot for Scottsdale. It's just what it is. Akron, Ohio, you can buy a house for $80,000. Scottsdale, you can't. So that's where we are. That's where we run around, where we hang out. Peoria, Buckeye, every place is a little different. Chandler and Gilbert's pretty hot right now. But listings under contract in Scottsdale rose 18%. So, and then again, we're the springtime here. Everybody talks about the spring market. Scottsdale, we've got the tourists here. If you're looking to sell, get on the market now. We've only got 2, 3, 4 months until summer, and things slow down a little bit again. Last year, we never really did. And as people move around more and more, I think that goes away. We become more of a niche, a year-round location for people moving here. Visitors, right now is the time to be here because 80, 85 and sunny today. That's not bad. Actually, it's going to get a little warm. Some people don't like it. I love it. The warmer, the better. But Scottsdale medium home price up 3.7% over the year. So home prices are up. You'll see the articles. I saw one in AZ Big Media yesterday talking about home price dips in Phoenix. Well, they were comparing, first of all, they compared single family home prices to multifamily. I don't know. These journalists, they are there to raise advertising dollars and get headlines and shock. I say that every week. So let's look at your deal. New accepted contracts in Scottsdale for the week was up, for this week compared to last year, was up 10%. So we're moving along. We're busy. We've got a lot. January, February is really busy. Are we starting to pull back a little bit? We've had the luxury market in, what was it? There were 85, is that the right number? There were 85 home sales in Maricopa County above $5 million. Only 12 of those were not in the city of Scottsdale or the city of Paradise Valley. Above $5 million, 85 in Maricopa County, 73 in Scottsdale or Paradise Valley. So that's kind of been carrying the overall market above $5 million. It's moving. It's moving around, but we are 1% less contracts this week than we were last year in that above $5 million price range. Is that starting to slow down? The wealthier people, they look at their stock portfolios. It's proven. Is the stock market up? People are buying houses. They're buying second homes, vacation homes. When it's down, they tighten up a little bit. So it'll be interesting going into the summer. It's still busy, busier than last year. So let's see. Listings under contract in Scottsdale is right now 6.2% higher than it was last year. So we'll see. Mortgage applications has been up every week this year. Single family mortgage applications has been up every week this year. And it's really rate dependent, interest rate dependent. Like I said, and that has to do, it's all price ranges. So, when you read the headlines, look into the deal. Who's writing it? Where is their data coming from? Is it accurate data? Probably not. Probably not for your position, but maybe. Who knows? So interior cities, they're in the seller's market. The Scottsdale, the Phoenix, the Cave Creek, Fountain Hills, Chandler, Gilbert. They're still in a slight seller's market. We've got buyer's market out in Goodyear, Buckeye, the surrounding side. What's interesting, Apache Junction and Mesa, they're also up in the seller's market. Mesa, I don't know, maybe I'm working on a project now, a commercial project in Mesa, and so I've been spending some time down there. And it's really catching my eye. It's interesting. Another place, we were up in Desert Mountain. If it's in the 85, the Mayo Clinic, the base of schools, Silverleaf, DC Ranch, 85259, zip code, kind of the northeast Scottsdale area up to Rio Verde foothills. I know it. Desert Mountain up north. I don't get there very often, but we were in a great property this week, and it's really a neat place. It's let me know. It's my job. If I don't have the answers, I can put you in touch. Reconnected with a friend of mine, Linda. She's the specialist up in Desert Mountain. If you want to go on a tour, let me know. I'll set you up with her. It's a really neat place. Some really incredible properties up there, and I think there's some decent deals up there. They're big numbers, but I think there's some decent deals, and it's just a neat little community that kind of rediscovering. So anyway, it's funny, and also like 9 out of 10 times when a buyer comes to me and they say I want this, this, and this, 9 out of 10 times we're in a completely different city on a completely different type of property. So it's a process. And that's why the more we communicate, the better job I can do for you in finding your property. It's a process, whether it's a week or 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years. So it's keeping in touch and communicate. Let's see what you need, what you're looking for, what works for you. Anyway, let's move on to commercial. I'm working under this project in Mesa. Like I said last week, I was brought in a little bit late. Now the property's been on the market 300 days. They had no interest. Now that this group that I'm working with is interested in, there's 2 other groups, real groups, and they're also interesting. So now we have to come in, we've got to, and I always say, get your letter of intent. On the commercial side, a letter of intent, we don't write the offer. Like in residential, you write the offer and go back, counter back and forth. In commercial, we pick up the phone, we have a discussion, we write a letter of intent, we get it over there. Are we close? Are we on the same page? And then we write up the contract. Once the terms are pretty close to an agreement, you still have your due diligence periods to fill out or to figure out if that property really works for you. If you can get the zoning and planning, you want to go to the city, make sure and really, really, really do your due diligence. Always do a phase one. I got burnt with that in Long Island on a property. But yeah, on the commercial, working with this group, it's interesting. I'm kind of backing into, I was brought in late to the deal. So we've got to get their financing. We've got to get, their architecture involved. But now all of a sudden it happens every time. Once somebody is interested in a property, there's this energy out there somewhere, more and more. And people say, how could there be somebody else offering on the property? It happens almost every time. So it can be on for 2 years. And then once your client is interested, there's a bunch of clients. So it's an energy out there. So it happens. Commercial, I had a state land trust meeting yesterday. A lot of land out there. Everybody thinks Arizona has all this land available. Well, if you've got super deep pockets and you want to buy 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 acres, then it's available. And then a lot of times with the state land auction deals, you've got the purchaser has to help with the infrastructure. And a lot of that's just desert land. So it's very limited. These state land auctions, they're tough to get properties. You really ought to have a lot of money behind you and make some kind of deal. But there's a lot going. It's a lot of power companies, a lot of solar companies out on I-10 between Phoenix and LA. That's a lot of the state land auctions going. And the sale of the state land auctions goes to fund the education for the state of Arizona. So it's pretty interesting system. They're I don't want to get political, but they're trying to change that procedure a little bit, but it works and it's super interesting. I attend them because it lets me know what's going on around the valley. 293 acres west of Deer Valley along 101 there. It's going to be mixed use, multifamily. Vestar, they put an application in along I-17 and the Carefree Highway. We've talked about that northwest corner of Phoenix, how hot that's going to be. Vestar is a big commercial developer. They develop big retail centers, and they've got two in it. They've got 186 acres at Carefree Highway and I-17. They're going to put a retail development center in, and then just south of that off the Sonoran Highway, they've got another, I want to say 140 acres that they're going to develop there. And you know what? They've got to pay for 50% of the road improvements, the exits off of I-17 and things like that. But I attend those meetings because it tells me what's happening, where the big money's going. I've said this a million times, follow the big money. That northwest corner of Phoenix, it's going to be completely different in a few years. Let's see, Sheridan Phoenix downtown. That's interesting. It's it's a famous in the Phoenix area hotel. They're going to make 212 luxury apartments from the hotel to the apartment. Somebody sees value in that. I guess so. It's an interesting Mesa now. They've got 3 hotels coming, a total of 800 rooms. Got approval this week. So Mesa, Tolleson's got a neat project. They just broke ground on a new high school out by Phoenix International Raceway. It's a technical high school for you car fans, race fans. Skip Barber. If you're into that, it's a technical school to educate young people about the racing industry. It's a really interesting program. That's out in Tolleson. Litchfield Park, they're making like a walkable urban village area. We've done some deals out there, some residential and commercial deals out there. Talked to a hard money guy yesterday. There's some attractive rates on hard money. And there's nothing, people are afraid of hard money. There's nothing wrong with hard money. If you can get attractive rates, it gets you into a property, lets you start your project, and then you can refinance it, pay it off in a year or two. It's definitely serves a purpose. It's not like loan sharks like you think on TV. Everybody's a little afraid. SBA loans, they require a little bit more paperwork, but it's a great way to get it. If you're a small business owner, SBA loan's the way to go for sure, 100%. And we've got some great contacts for that. Actually, Mayo Clinic over here, 85259. I went to a community information meeting this week. They're going to put 122 homes. If you've driven by, you've seen the signs, 122 homes on 48 acres next to the Mayo Clinic, Scottsdale. Community wasn't real happy about it. It's super early in the stages. We're going to see how that goes. I'm all for it. That land's been sitting there for a long time. They'll figure out the traffic. You know, they're professionals. They've got deep pockets. They'll figure out what's best, highest and best use. That's the thing with commercial. What's the highest and best use, whether you're on the buy side or the sell side? And just figure out the numbers, what works. But that'll be interesting. It was a little bit heated. People were a little bit heated. But I think the more they become educated on the project, they're gonna see. We looked at that property with the client a few years ago, and it was just too expensive at the time. Mayo Clinic's got deep pockets. They probably can make it work. So it's gonna 136 in Via Linda and B85259 zip code. Another thing, I'm surprised at how many agents I've talked to this week that live in this area that don't know about the project. It's my job to know what's going on in the community for my clients, wherever they're looking. So just get out there, pay attention. Anyway, the economy. We had PCE this morning, personal consumption expenditures. It's spending. It's consumer spending on durable goods, I guess. And when I talk about these, I'm just touching the top. Just really, if you want more details, give me a call. But figure consumer spending. A little light on this one. But remember, we did have that government shutdown. GDP was also a little light, 1.4% GDP. Gross domestic product. That's productivity of the United States. That was 1.4%. That needs to be around 2% to have a good, solid, forward-moving economy. So spending a little light. We had initial jobless claims. People talk about the employment. It's been pretty stable, and until employment breaks, interest rates aren't going anywhere. I can tell you that. CPI, Consumer Price Index, that's prices. We had that earlier this week. That was up 2.4% year over year, kind of as expected. Nothing crazy. But, the big news in the economy is the oil and the tension in the middle. You have to be careful of the words that I use because Instagram will block me if I say certain words. So let's just say political turmoil in the Middle East. We'll refer to as that. Oil prices. Why is oil important? Because everything we do, everything we use relies on oil. Shipping, diesel fuel, natural gas, fertilizer. 1/3 of fertilizer goes through that Strait of Hormuz. Who knew? So is that going to then go over to the farmers' food production prices, and will that carry on? So everything with that Middle East, I have to be careful. Everything going on over there, how long is that going to go on? The longer it goes on, the more it's tough to recover from. Is it going to be short-lived and not really matter? But watch the bond markets. The bond markets are pretty educated. Stock market, anybody can buy and sell stocks on their phone. I don't believe that. Watch the bond market. We had a 3-year auction, 10-year auction this week. They were a little bit light. We had a 30-year auction. Hey, Tanner. A friend of mine in Denver. Let's see. 30-year auction was okay yesterday, but the government issues bonds to fund their spending, and I've said this for years. Until we get government spending under control, there's really no reason for interest rates to drop. Like I said, and now we've got is just a question. We've got these big companies issuing corporate bonds. Think of it, I always say, Ray Dalio used to say, one man's debt is another man's asset. If the U.S. Treasury is paying 4% risk-free interest, is that enough to attract investors? It's not always about getting lower rates. You get lower rates, you're going to lose the attraction on people investing in the United States government. But anyway, now Amazon, Google has a 100-year bond. They pay 6%. You invest your money for 100 years, you're going to get 6% for the lifetime of that bond? That's awesome. I'll take that all day long. There's a little bit more risk to it. That's why they have to pay the 6%. U.S. Treasury is a risk-free rate. That's why the 10 years around 4.25%, I guess, this morning. So, and just watch, they go up and down, which I think is fair. Every lender has to be rewarded for lending their money. It's not all about borrowing money. And what are we? Mortgage rates, 6.25%. 6% versus 6.25% on a $1 million house in Scottsdale. Your monthly payment is different, is about $130 different. If $130 different is going to break you on buying $1 million house in Scottsdale, then you shouldn't be buying $1 million house in Scottsdale. So that's 0.25%. That's a big movement in the bonds. So, it's interesting, but keep it, that's all noise. It's all noise. Berkshire Hathaway, we have a new CEO. And, people they always say, who do you work for? Well, the majority, 90% of realtors are independent contractors. We pay Berkshire Hathaway a fee, like a franchise fee, to use their systems and their networks and things like that. Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, it's the third largest brokerage in the country. And he came out and he said some good. There's a lot of noise that you probably don't follow the real estate industry inside. There's a lot of noise in the industry. Excuse me. He says, we want to be the adult in the room. We want to step back. We want to be the professional that offers professional services to our clients. And that's what I think. It's funny. You've seen before I go to the Paradise Valley Luxury Home Tour meeting. I'm missing it today because the speaker, there's a trend in the industry. Put on your short skirt, dance. I'm not going to wear a short skirt. Or put on your nicest suit and dance in front of somebody else's listing. Is that who you want? A lot of the continuing education classes that we as agents or brokers have to do now have to do with how to look good on camera. I don't care how I look on camera. I'd rather you and I are real. We get to know each other a little bit. So anyway, that's why I'm skipping that meeting this morning, because I don't care. They're speaking on how to look good on camera. Does that person who's dancing in front of someone else's property, are they going to know your market? Are they going to know how to negotiate? That's, we try to be more professional. And going back, that's where the Berkshire Hathaway CEO wants to go. I do these live. They're very loose. They're a conversation. Ask me questions. They're very loose. They're real. They're live. It's not even a filter. It's some days I'm pretty, some days I'm not. I don't know. But anyway, if we can help you buy or sell residential, commercial, land, whatever we can do to help you, let me know. If we can't help you, we'll point you in the right direction. Give me a call, 203-733-5877. Let me know what you want to see on these. I would try and change these up a little bit every week. Let me know. What do you want to know? What do you want to hear? I feel like I'm always not arguing, but I'm always disproving the headlines that the mainstream media is doing. And I don't want to be that way. I'm the most optimistic I jump out of bed and Yahoo, let's go get it. That's me. And, just appreciate every day. So anyway, I'd love to work with you. Give me a shout, 203-733-5877. Let me know how I can help. Thanks for watching. I truly appreciate it. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.